Even by stone San Francisco standards, the rock and roll party hosted by the Grateful Dead 20 years ago was a milestone event in that raucous, turbulent, mind-bending period we now talk about as the Summer of Love. You didn't have to be a weatherman to know which way the wind was blowing when an estimated 10,000 hippies and hangers-on showed up for the concert in the Panhandle section of Golden Gate Park. The band, which used to be known as the Warlocks, had graduated from topless bars and fraternity parties and was now known as the Grateful Dead. And appropriate to their Haight-Ashbury audience, they wailed away at dancing in the street. This, by the way, may be the earliest film ever made of a Grateful Dead concert. The Dead wasn't the first successful 60s band from San Francisco, but it was representative of a revolutionary attitude about music that was sweeping the country. In fact, it was a Berkeley-based band, Country Joe and the Fish, that was most direct in its political message. Country Joe hammered away at an anti-war anthem to thousands of disciples massed in Golden Gate Park's Polo Grounds the summer of '67.
It was a very exciting time. We were happening. We were doing something really different. People liked it. We were being successful at it. And it was working.
What Country Joe and a mind-blowing batch of Bay Area bands already knew, long before Marshall McLuhan proclaimed it, is that the medium really is the message. And the music medium put out a constant clarion call to overturn the establishment's control of the government and the promulgation of middle-class culture.
Our job was to provide a musical soundtrack for the era, to provide music and culture for the counterculture, and that's what we did.
The music was experimental to match the psychedelic drugs that were so freely available at concerts. And even if you didn't use drugs, the music made it seem as if you did.
Anything you wanted to be that summer, you could be. You know, any wish that you made would come true. And it did for a lot of people.
The Dead played at an old Haight Street movie house, playfully renamed the Straight Theater. Around town, a dizzying array of bands played places like the Fillmore, Winterland, Family Dog, Fillmore East, and the Avalon. Artists like Stanley Moose and Alton Kelly produced hundreds of psychedelic posters, an entirely new art form, even if most of us had difficulty reading the lettering, to promote concerts by groups like Quicksilver Messenger Service, Sons of Champlain, The Charlatans, Moby Grape, Blue Cheer, and The Joy of Cooking. Amplifiers thundered to Big Brother and the Holding Company with Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, the Jefferson Airplane with Grace Slick. San Francisco was hot musically. Hollywood record labels were busily signing up Bay Area bands, and an enigmatic musical quality called the San Francisco sound was the talk of the music industry from coast to coast.
There were certain elements that characterized the phenomena here, and they were experimentation, fusion of many musical traditions. I think that was really the most important aspect of it, is that many conventions were dropped, that basically anything could be experimented with, anything could be tried.
The musical assault on the senses wasn't enough in rock and roll San Francisco during the Summer of Love. Led by electrical and artistic genius Jerry Abrams, dance hall goers were treated to a kaleidoscopic cacophony of sound and color. Jerry Abrams and the Headlights may have been the most famous of the light show creators, but they were quickly followed by half a dozen visual virtuosos who made color and form run wild. It was a time of incredible artistic freedom.
For me as a songwriter, it was the wonderful opportunity to write about subjects that were not covered in music normally. So I could write subjects about taking drugs, subjects about the President of the United States, about the war in Vietnam, about hitchhiking, about anything.
And if adults didn't like it, or couldn't understand it, or were thoroughly put off by it, so much the better. The music during the Summer of Love was a kind of code for a rebellious generation.